two really fast disclaimers on this. First of all, if Bill had asked me to speak on any other subject, I would have said, no, not a chance, because not my favorite thing, but it's certainly a topic I'm passionate about. The other really weird disclaimer is that for reasons I won't go into, anything that involves strong emotion for me, whether good or bad, makes me cry. So if I cry, please just ignore me and pretend you didn't notice. You will. It's all on video, right? You know what, at this point, what can I do? We are Dan and Laurel's F1 monozygotic generation. Immediately designated Otte Baby A and Otte Baby B, which was then changed officially to Jennifer and Jessica. I'm Jessica. I'm 3 minutes younger. It's absolutely a pleasure to be here, and I'm really proud and thrilled to hear how many of you say that Dad has changed your life in some way or another. That's a delight. And for so many obvious reasons, starting with making my life, he's certainly done the same for me too. But sort of to boil it down, I consider that there are 4 major parts to any person's life, and those things are family, home, job, and relationships. Family's easy. I mean, here we are, and I've told friends, and I say to all of you, my parents are my best friends. Disclaimer again, Jenny comes first. She's the most important person in my life, but my parents are my best friends. And I've said that to friends of mine who have children, particularly teenagers. And they look wistful and they say, really? That's wonderful. And it is. It's wonderful. I wouldn't trade any other friends for my folks. So there's family. Home. My house was built in 1837. And when I looked at it with the realtor, it was dirty, it was old-fashioned, it was outdated, it was dusty, it was decoratively ugly as sin. And I looked at the realtor and I said, we're done, I want this one. And she looked at me and she said, are you sure this is going to be a lot of work? And I thought, what's your point? Because since childhood, I watched my parents build a house from the ground up, from nothing, and then take a house ugly as sin. Ugly as sin. And turn it into a beautiful home. So from my point of view, that's what you do. That's my normal, because you don't start with, oh, look at my beautiful home. You get in there and you slave and you work and you change it and you make it your beautiful home. My third thing, jobs. I had to write this down because I go to pieces speaking to a group. I am the research coordinator in the Department of Neuroscience at Temple University. I work my butt off for an incredibly demanding boss who's also a wonderful, wonderful man. I adore it. It's an absolutely wonderful job, and I even love slaving away all of this. And this, I think, I grew up watching Daddy go off to work every single day doing something he adores. I thought that's what you do. I didn't know you could have a ho-hum, go-to-work job. I said, you grow up, you find something you really, really love, and you go off and you do that every day. And I did that. I'm so, so pleased. And I think I did it because I thought that's normal. That's what I saw. My last thing, when I said about relationships, this is sort of backwards, because I don't think that my dad has guided me into the relationships I've chosen, but I've noticed, especially recently, that the 3, I was going to start with boyfriends, but it's more than that, because I'm talking about 2 boyfriends and my boss. The significant men in my life, the people who've been really important, I don't know why this is or how I found them. They love my father. And I look at this and I'm like, it's not, I don't mean like, yeah, it's cool, I like your parents, we can go for dinner. They love him. My boss, I go to work and one of my routines in the morning is every morning I go and I have my tea and I sit with my boss, and every now and then, totally out of the blue, he says, how's Dan? Bring Dan for drinks. We need to talk to Dan. What's Dan doing? Loves him. The first serious boyfriend I ever had, I think actually that he liked Daddy better than he liked me. So proof that I made the right decision. But I can't tell you, I don't know if you knew, Carlos loved you. I mean, that may be his only redeeming feature at this point. And I don't know whether you knew or not, Bob too. Bob really, really loved you. So I don't know if I'm attracted to or connected to, or I manage to find these people who connect, but I keep getting these people in my life who think my dad is just so cool. And what can I say, but so do I. I can't tell you how proud I am to be here. I love you, Daddy. That was great.
I'm Jenny Vanham. I'm Otte Baby A, as Jessie said. I am so glad to be here. We've been calling it the Dad Posium. We're so excited. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Joan. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Nancy, for doing this. It's the best thing in the world, and we've known a lot of you for a long time, and we've met a lot of people who we've heard about for a really long time, but it's such a pleasure to meet the names and the voices we've heard for such a great time. I love that one of the themes of today has been, and Jessie said it too, Dan has changed my life. And as Jess said, both our parents helped us find our way to being these people with these lives and these careers we're both so happy with and so proud of, and happy in. It's no coincidence we live 8 miles from, in a circle of less than 8 miles from each other. That's a wonderful thing. Jess grew up to be a scientist. I grew up to be surrounded by museum curators, although the collections are just a little bit different. We've known all of you, the organizing folks, for the grad student folks, all of our lives, and your presence has made awfully good, fond memories for us too. Laurie and Dick Alexander have known us as long as our parents have known us. Your kids babysat us, and now we're older than they were when now your grandkids are here. They're older than your kids were when they were babysitting for us. Dick taught us to ride and started the usual girl horse thing, except we never outgrew it. We still would do that at a heartbeat. We treasure our trips to your farm and your visits to us. We consider you absolutely wholeheartedly family, and it's such a treat to be here with you again. Nancy Burley gave us homing pigeons. Ever so creative, at age 7 or so, we named them Ping and Pidgey. we taught them to fly in the garage in Westlake Hills outside of Austin, and in 1975, when we got ready to move back to Pennsylvania, we gave them back to Nancy, except they homed on us every night for a week, and every morning they'd be standing patiently under the car. And I think Nancy, if I have my story right, Nancy had to finally contain them for a while so they would stay. Tony Jorn was with us, with very different glasses, I must say, in Arizona. Jessie remembers this trip better than I do, but we both think fondly of it. We were 5, and you always let us find the best puzzle pieces of those giant jigsaw puzzles that we worked on. But actually, the truth is, you guys would slave over them, and Jess and I would stroll by, age 5, pick out one little piece, plonk it into the spot, and inevitably be with the one Tony had been looking for days. And it must have driven him absolutely insane. Joan, brave soul, but then she did say she wanted the ideal family life, ran our brownie troop with our mom. And I hope she loved it, because Jessie and I hated brownies, and that was it for us in Girl Scouts. There was no progression to further Girl Scouts, and Joan and Mom were certainly the only good part of brownies for us. Elsa Cade was my first grade classroom aide, and I absolutely remember playing with her there. More importantly, and later on, there were wonderful visits with Bill and Elsa, and Mexican food, and a party once, not so long ago, at our parents' house, when Mom and I were the only non-scientists in the party. And I was sitting in this little one of those little beach deck chairs, low to the ground, and Dad's friend Dick Weber looked down at me and said, you got your own little ecosystem going down there. So, we're used to scientists. We love the scientists. And Daddy and his work and his colleagues and his friends have provided us with some truly wonderful memories and great folks. And my college friends probably thought it was a little odd that we learned to gut and stuff crickets and lay oatmeal trails on camping trips. Or they'd call me over the summer break, and I'd say, oh, yeah, we're great. Dad's building a boat from a kit. And we brought home live stag beetles from London, but we got caught at customs, and that didn't go so well. But you know what? They were just as impressed with our dad as Jess and I are. And to this day, they always ask, where's Dad now? And while Mom worried and fretted over dangling off cliffs and Namibian militia encounters and no contact for weeks, Jess and I just, from little kid age on, accepted that this was normal. This was just what life was. We said, "He'll be back, no problem." And he fell off cliffs, came home, and then built boats from kids. And this was total normal Otte behavior, and we were raised Otte style. Yes, and we're awfully proud of that. We are immensely proud of our dad and impressed by our dad, and we don't tell him, we don't tell you nearly often enough. And I love you too.
And I love them all. It's always been fun going on field trips with Daniel. And what I'm going to tell you is a story I didn't think of when Deb wrote and asked me to send a field trip story. Jesse and I met Daniel in New Mexico where he was working. And one day he decided he would go out just for the morning, and he was going to come back and take us to the art museum in the afternoon. We decided to stay in and do the laundry. It was a fortunate thing that I was in the room ironing when the phone rang. And a woman said, "I'm calling from the county sheriff's office." And I thought, he's been hurt. Then I thought, he's been arrested. It seems that there'd been a murder. Daniel had been working up on the hill collecting, and two men came up they said, look for wood. And after an uneventful morning, he went down the hill to come and pick us up. And the police stopped him and said, "You're going to have to stay here until the medical examiner comes. A woman has been killed." And Daniel could see a burnt-out car by the side of the road. So he was there for hours, and fortunately, I was in the room when he called, so we went out for lunch. And just as we'd finished lunch, he came to take us to the museum, and he said he'd gone down the hill and seen this burnt-out car, and there was a woman's body in it. And later, people sent us emails saying they had seen newspaper articles from Taos area, and there'd been several murders in burnt-out cars around there. And I don't know still if they've caught it, but it was certainly one of the most exciting field trips we've ever been on.
More than the cliff, I think.
More than the cliff. The cliff was not exciting.
Thank you, Otte. That was great.